Hello, my name is Manuela. Welcome to Place of Stillness. And today we have a guest over here, Lorica Bretherton. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Manuela. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you because I really love your channel and I
Oh,
love when you talk to all these different people. So I feel very honored to be here as well.
yes, and I'm
Yeah.
very honored that you wanted to make the time to come over here for a chat and speak about your spiritual practice and how you found your way into spirituality and what you're currently at. And I think one of the most exciting things about meeting you is actually not only the person who you are. Of course, that's the main excitement that I feel when meeting you because it's you. Aside from that, we discovered that we're living just a three quarter of an hour by car away from each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we did meet when Anna and I did the live chat with the live tarot readings. Oh, we didn't do
Yes.
tarot readings so much. We did chat on the um, Trionfi della Luna Marseille tarot deck. And you,
Yes, that was it. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you popped in and let us know that you were from Sweden as well. And then we discovered you live quite close. And yeah, so we got to know each other a bit better, like in private chats, and now you're here. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, the world is such a small place, isn't it? It's amazing. I always find it fascinating how you I mean, how is it possible? We're so close together,
Yeah,
just literally 45 minutes.
yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
And when Corona has calmed down, then certainly we will be able to meet in person as well.
Yes,
And yeah,
definitely. We go for a hike or something.
yeah, yeah. We can do live together, perhaps outdoors even
Yeah,
in nature.
very nice. I like that.
Hmm. So when we had our little private chat on Zoom just some weeks ago, I learned from you that you are a traveler, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So would you tell us a little bit about your life journey and the physical journey that accompanied you traveling through life?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to try and keep it as short as I can. But I think I have traveling in my blood. It's like just part of me. Um, I was born in South Africa in a small city called Port Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was 2 months old, my parents moved countries. They moved to Namibia, which is just north of South Africa.
Hmm.
And they moved to the Kalahari Desert. So I grew up in the desert until I was about 4. And then from there, we moved further north into Namibia to
Oh,
another funny town called Otjiwarongo.
oh,
And they were teachers. So they just went from teaching at different schools. And then by that time I was 11, we moved back to South Africa. So by the time before I was even a teenager, I
hmm.
have moved so many times in so many places that's quite different from one another.
Yeah.
So it just became part of me even as a child. Like
Hmm.
it's just in my blood.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how basically, if you can say, it started then already. And yeah, and then when I was older, in South Africa, I lived in a few different places, but by the time I was 30, I moved to Chicago in the US.
Hmm.
And I lived there for a few years, and then I moved to London, and then from London I became a how should I wouldn't want to say homeless, home free person.
Hmm.
So I didn't have a home for quite a few years,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then I moved to Sweden.
Hmm.
and now I'm here, and you know, just that's as short as I can get it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what were your reasons for moving when once you were old enough to decide for yourself?
I was married in when I was in South Africa to my high school sweetheart,
Mm-hmm.
and we were married for many, many, many years. And we just both fancied traveling, and he was in IT, in the technology industry, so
Mm-hmm.
it was easy for him to get jobs in different places.
Yeah.
So we started moving to the US with
Mm-hmm.
a visa that he got, and yeah, and then we lived there. And then when we went to the UK, his family is British, so I could very easily move with him to the UK, and I could quickly get a visa so I could work. And, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so that was the main thing for that part. And then when my marriage ended, I decided I needed to figure out what it is, who I am, and what I want out of life.
Mm-hmm.
So I um, basically quit my job, um, gave up my apartment, sold or gave away everything I owned, except for a few things, and I started traveling. And for that, I saved up, I had some money saved up. So I just went traveling and experienced the world um, on my own and see, you know, what it is I wanted out of life.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't really stopped since I started. This is like now I would say the last couple of years I finally kind of found a little bit more of a stability again. I got married again to a Swedish man, so this is why I'm in Sweden now. So I have a connection here.
Yeah. And if we see where you were born, South Africa, and you were living in Namibia in the desert for a long time, and now you have come to Sweden. How do those two places connect? It's easy to see the differences because you think the desert is hot and there's nothing to choose from. It's just like nothing, perhaps. And Sweden is that northern country with people in big jackets and a lot of pullovers in order not to freeze. But perhaps there are still some commonalities between those two places. Is there anything that comes to mind when you?
I think I think both Sweden and especially Namibia, um, although there's a lot of people, I'd say in Sweden, it feels there are also not that many people, because as soon as you get out of the cities and the bigger towns, you find that it becomes very um, more of nature. And it's a different type of nature, of course, than it might be in the desert, but it is still nature. It's still that open space that you have, that you can just connect with something outside of yourself.
Hmm.
So I think that is the biggest, I would say, commonality between Sweden and Namibia. It's the two different extremes, maybe in terms of weather and the how it looks, you know, the greenery and then the dryness. But the actual fact that there isn't that many people really, if you go outside of
Hmm.
the the few bigger places that we have here.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
would be for me the same.
Yeah. And would you say that it's something you do enjoy in your environment?
I'm sorry that I would.
Enjoy that you do enjoy in your environment, that you have the possibility to leave the crowd and.
Oh yes, definitely. Yes, I am. I am quite a bit of a loner, um, more of a lone wolf, and I'm very, very blessed to have met somebody that's also like that. So I don't really. It's very strange because since this virus have arrived, my life hasn't changed that much, from before to now.
Yeah.
And the whole quarantine in certain places, I lived in the UK when it has been in quarantine last year. And my life didn't change from before then to during quarantine. Yes, I wear a mask now when I go out, even here in Sweden, but it hasn't really changed much. I have lived the same life. So definitely, yes, I like to be on my own and just go into nature. And when I did my traveling as well through South Africa, I did it by myself. I rented a little car for 6 months and I just drove randomly with no plan and
Yeah.
stopping wherever I felt um, something called to me. I live very much by instinct, so and intuition. So whenever I felt the need to stop, I stopped and
Mm.
found a place to stay for a few days or a few weeks before I would move on again. So
Yeah.
definitely much like that.
Mm. And it seems like that life that so many people dream of, but that not many people live by in the end. It's that dream of freedom and not being bound up by a like employment that delivers a good salary, so it makes it hard to leave it, and all that, yeah, everyday comfort that most of us are a bit too, yeah, too comfortable to leave behind.
Mhm.
Um, how does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it's definitely the case. I
Mm,
think a lot of the what I've experienced is it's like you have to make a choice, right?
mm,
I don't think it's always that possible to have a lot of things and have the freedom of traveling and just being free, if
mm,
we want to call it free in that way, right?
yeah,
And I think you really need to make a choice about it. You have to give things up uh,
mm,
to live like that.
mm,
And I gave up a lot in order to live like that, but I also gained so much more in
mm,
experience and in growing and in um, getting to know myself and going into those dark places
mm,
of your soul that you don't normally go into when you maybe with other people or when you go to a job or you
mm,
have your daily routines. You
mm,
don't always um, go there, right? It's like you put up a front or something around you so that you don't have that, you don't have to look at it too deeply because it's safer that way. And when you're alone, there is no switching that off. And the
mm,
way I traveled was there wasn't really much internet, and I didn't go onto any social media or
mm,
any of that kind of thing because I wanted to travel to get to know myself. And I
mm,
think if I did it with something like YouTube or Instagram for myself or Facebook, I might not have learned so much or
mm,
experienced that much because I would be traveling through that medium and not
yeah.
with myself,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can completely understand. When I was younger, I mean, I'm not that old, but before I had a family and a child to take care of, I enjoyed going on silent retreats, and I could just switch off my phone for a week, and I didn't even worry about people trying to get in touch with me and not receiving an answer. I was thinking, well, if they don't receive an answer now, perhaps they wonder why, but I will explain later. And those longer time frames of being with myself and being in silence and but outside of my usual environment were so valuable,
Mm,
to really let everything sink in and getting in touch with my feelings. And I imagine if I had had like YouTube on a silent retreat in order to update people on how I was doing on the inside, then I would not have had the chance to feel the inside, because I perhaps would have been thinking about the next video to post on YouTube in order to satisfy the outside. So it's kind of how I imagine your internal processes on your journeys and what they provided you with, and how things would have changed in case you had used social media as a companion, travel companion.
Yes. Yes, exactly. That's it. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember any pivotal moment on your journeys?
This one in South Africa, which I also wrote a book about. If I show you the A Dreamer's Life, oh, you got the copy. That one, when I was traveling through South Africa those 6 months, I've had a few pivotal moments during that time, but I think the one that stood out the most was, there's actually two, these two. The one was when I was in this little town by the coast. It was called Port Alfred. And I stayed in, it was winter and it was very grey and misty and mysterious. And the ocean was quite a bit, I had to walk through a little forest to get to the sea. So I stayed in a holiday kind of apartment, really very reasonable, because you have to travel very reasonable if you're going to go traveling for so long. You can't stay in 5-star accommodation, but it had this balcony and you could look out at the sea. And I remember the fog and the mist was coming in, and I just felt this strange, like, it was like something was like a now or never kind of a feeling. You got to do this now or you're never going to do it. And I remember I closed the door, locked it, lied on my back on the carpet in the lounge area, and I just let my mind go completely. Like it was like almost like a dark night of the soul kind of an experience. And I just literally went off somewhere. I can't say where I went or what happened. But when I came out of that and all the darkness that have been around me for so long, that I've always felt like, sometimes you feel that you just have things that you carry for so long that you need to let go. It kind of just went with that mist and that fog that was around, which was quite, for me, an experience I will never forget. And the second one was when I was house sitting, because I do that a lot when I travel. I get lucky and I find somebody who needs somebody to have a house to sit, or has a house and they need you to look after their pets. So there was this beautiful dog. Loved this dog. I fell in love with this dog. It was a Rhodesian Ridgeback. It's like one of those big dogs. And the dog jumped on me, and I was wearing my only nice sweater that I kept, and it tore the sweater. And I shouted at the dog. I lost it. And then I started crying, and I was so upset about losing the hole in the sweater, which we'll never be able to fix because it was quite a hole, right? And I paid a lot for the sweater, and this was from my other life when I still had finances, and and I realized at that moment that actually, have I actually learned anything on this journey that I'm on, so that I can release everything and not hold on to such things and have this attachment to things in my life? And that dog taught me so much about letting go. And that was another, when I realized, no, you have to let go of things. Otherwise, even if you have one thing and you hold on to it with like both hands clutching, it doesn't make any difference. And you might as well have 100 things and hold on to them, because then there's no difference in terms of non-attachment. Yeah.
So the sweater, it became like a physical representation of that letting go, while at the same time you realize it's not about the sweater, it is about something completely different.
much more. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you had replaced that sweater with another one, well, yeah, you would still be trapped in that same pattern. And
Yes.
if you could let go of that pattern, then probably you could own as many sweaters as you wanted and still feel free.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's speak a little bit about your book. You were so generous to send me a copy of your book. Is it your first or your second book? I know you have written.
That one was my first, but I have another one as well, which is very different from that one. It's called No Flowers on the Graves. So
Hmm.
that's the second one.
Hmm.
But yeah, this one was the first one that I published. I
Yeah,
wrote the other one before that, but I published the second one. This one, Dreamer's Life. I published
yeah,
this one first.
yeah.
Yes.
And this is an amazing uh, life journey book, I would say. Is it the term that you could agree to?
Yes, definitely. It's definitely a life journey.
Life
Yeah.
journey. And I find it's in that at the point where prose and poetry meet, as you have designed like those spotlights on certain situations that you encounter on your life journey. And it's those spotlights that almost feel like um, those Polaroid pictures
Yes.
in a poetic format at the same time as everything it makes a whole. So it's not like a collection of disconnected poems, but it is like a journey from the start to the end. And I've recently watched Stella Rain Dancers, was it the February wrap up, and she holds one copy of your book as well, and she compared it to Cheryl Strayed's book Wild. And before I even listened to Jazz um, wrap up, I thought the same thought, that your book was somehow the same, it had that same flow as Cheryl Strayed's book. And I don't even know if you have read her book, but
No,
uh,
I haven't read it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is a bestseller. So, uh, where she describes her grief journey taking place on the Pacific Crest Trail. So she had never been hiking before. She buys all that equipment, starts off with a totally too heavy backpack, and puts herself on that journey. And it feels like that open-mindedness of you trying out those different things and tasting different jobs and tasting different life experiences.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I'm really glad that you say that it was like spotlights and you compared it to Polaroids because that was exactly the idea. I call them snapshots. So it's that kind of idea of short pieces that have it has some form of continuity, but they also stand on their own kind
Mm,
of a thing. So you can just open up the book anywhere and it
mm,
wouldn't be where am I now kind of a thing. It's
yeah,
supposed to be able to read it from anywhere in the
yeah.
book. So
Mm.
yes, yeah, I saw the I know there's also a movie out with that with Reese Witherspoon. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
for that, yeah, I'm really I it's on my to read list. So sometimes when you write something that's very similar to somebody else, then you don't want to read books that well I don't like to read books that are like that because then I don't want to feel like I'm copying, like you get
Mm,
influenced. You can get inspired, but you can also sometimes try and
mm,
write like that, and it's
yeah,
like a delicate balance between those two.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cheryl Strayed, she did not use that Polaroid format. It's like a normal novel, or
Okay, okay. Yes.
talking about my life story format, but somehow something in the energy that your book carries made my mind stroll off to her book. But
Thank you.
yours is more a piece of art than Cherry Strait's novel, I would say. So anyone who's interested in that really evocative um, way of dealing with the story, I would say would probably enjoy your book more. But it's just a wild guess. So let me ask you, when did the thought to write a book first strike you?
um, I have always been telling stories since before I could write. My whole life, I've always been a storyteller, and my mum used to. Well, she was such an inspiration for me because she would tell me the most amazing magical stories when I was growing up. We would be driving down from Namibia to South Africa on our annual vacations in the car, and this was in like the 70s. So there wasn't any entertainment except the heat and the long road. So
Mm,
she would tell me the most amazing stories while we were driving. And if we ever came past trees, which wasn't that many because it's a desert, but whenever we went past trees, she would say, okay, look out, there's a fairy. Do you see it? Do you see the fairy? Can you see it? It was like such a magical world. And everything around me was alive because of her stories just the way that she told them to me.
mm,
So I've always loved words, always loved stories. So when I was younger in school, I would write a lot. I used to write a lot of poetry in school. And then um, after school, I went to study. And then after that, I became a journalist. So I've always written.
mm,
Hasn't been, it's just always been part of me. And when I left South Africa, I started my novel, which is proper novel,
mm,
is the second one that I wrote. And that novel took me 10 years to write. And I finished it in the UK. And I got an agent for the novel, a literary agent in the UK. And I was really very lucky. I feel that I managed to get that. So I tried the traditional publishing route
mm.
first, because I think you probably you were going to ask me a little bit about the
Yeah.
how the books came about, right? The publishing part and that. And I think um, and she was really very positive about it. This no flowers on the graves. And but I needed to do some rewrites
Yeah.
for this book. So I was very excited to have an agent and be proper. It's not just some it was a very big deal for me. We signed a contract and everything. But every time I had to rewrite the book, I think I rewrote the book about 3 times, 4 times even, which um, became rewrites in the terms that I had to change the characters. I needed to change the ending completely of the book. And so I started to feel like this is not my book anymore. This is something else. It's changing into a book that might become, maybe there might be a lot of copies sold, but it wouldn't be my book. I'd rather have a book that maybe not sells that many, but I know this is me. It's my story.
Mm,
So we had a conversation and we decided to part our ways very amicably. It wasn't like angry or anything. It was really in an amicable way.
mm,
And I decided to go my own way. But I got so saddened by
mm,
having to rewrite the book that I just put it away. I thought, I'm not even going to look at that book ever again. It's just going to go away. And then I started, oh, sorry, my voice. Then I started with The Dreamer's Life. And I finished that book fairly quickly. It wasn't that, it took me not that long to write, maybe 6 months or something, 8 months, something like that.
Mm.
And yeah, and then I published it. And then once that book was published, the second one kept on knocking in my head, like, hello, hello. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go back to an old draft and I'm going to rework it and give it one more shot and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then it came out. And so I've self-published. I've gone the indie route, the independent publishing, because I'm very stubborn. So I felt I wanted my story out there. I didn't want it to be watered down or any of that. So that's basically how it came about and how I started writing. I've always written.
Yeah, and I guess when we write from our soul, then it's important that it's not other people interfering with our stories and characters and the ending. So it's the stories that we want to tell that are supposed to meet the world and the readers. And so I completely understand why you would go down your own route with your books and be satisfied with that and stand up for your story. Yeah. And when you write, how do you kind of create the atmosphere or feed yourself into that writing setting?
Yes. Well, I think it depends on what it is that I'm writing. So for the No Flowers on the Graves, which is the novel, and it has a story and it flows from, it has a start, middle, end, and it has the plot and all that kind of thing. I would create playlists for each of the characters. So when I wrote about a character that day, and for some I even had outfits that I would wear so that they would come out and I would dress for them and put on the music, and then I would write their story at that time, right? So it was like I really, for the novel, is much more work involved into trying to coax the characters to come out and tell me what it is that they want me to say, right? And what it is that they want to do. Because even though you write and you're the author and you create the story, you might start with thinking you're writing the story, but in the end, it's the characters that write it themselves. It's almost like they become little people in your head and they become independent of you. You almost don't have much control over what's going to happen. That's how I write. I know there's a lot of people. I did when I was living in London. I was part of the creative writing school course with Maggie Hammond, and she was an amazing teacher, and I was really lucky to be part of that class of hers. And we did a lot of plot, like, planning and plotting and how does plot work and that. And I really struggled with the plot because I have an idea, but I feel like I just need to let these characters talk. It's their story. They want to say it. So for novel writing, that's the process. But for the other kind of writing, like when it's more of this journey, more of like a spiritual journey kind of a book that combines both the physical and the spiritual. It's more of when I go on these journeys, I write every day. I will write, I don't create an atmosphere. It's just I would maybe drive all day and in the evening I would just start writing. Or I would wake up in the morning or in the middle of the night and just something triggers and I would just write. So, and I think that's why it's important for me to be on my own a lot of the time when I do this kind of journey, because then if somebody else is with you and you wake up at 3 a.m. and suddenly you got to write and it's a small hotel room. I remember once I was traveling with my mom and we went to Paris, and we stayed in a hotel room, and I woke up, we were sharing a room, and I woke up in the night and I just had to write some stuff down.
Mm.
So I went into the bathroom and I closed the door and I sat there on the floor with my pen and paper because I had to get it out, whatever it was that was coming. So it's so that kind of writing for me is much more on just, it comes when it comes. And when it doesn't, it's not, I don't feel I can force it. I can't sit there 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Okay, now I'm going to write. It doesn't work that way for me. The novel writing can be more like that, but this kind of writing, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. And the way you describe your writing process, it almost leads my thoughts to channeling.
Yes. Yes. I would agree. I've had this conversation with my husband a lot because he's also a creative person. He's a musician. And we talk about creativity a lot and how creativity works and how it actually is something outside of yourself that you sometimes don't have control over. You are just a vessel, like you say, channeling, and something just comes through, and you just need to be there and be ready for it and let it do its thing. And sometimes after you've done it, you feel really good. But sometimes after you've done it, it's very draining and exhausting. It depends on what you wrote, right? So it's a very interesting process. It can be very uplifting, but it can also sometimes really be quite heavy and just drain the life out of you. So yeah.
Would you say that you feel most drained when you really work and work and work and work and work and cannot stop yourself from keeping going? Or
No, I wouldn't say that.
no?
I think it depends on what it is that you're writing. So when you write something that is very close to you and you feel very connected with it, and it like literally tears at your insides, like when you write something that's a really have maybe an experience that was very intense and made you very sad or was very painful, that I think is much more draining. Even if you write for 5 or 10 minutes, it can be really quite, because when you write, you're reliving whatever it is you're writing, right? So you in order for you to make somebody else read it and see the images, you have to go back to that place where it happened. And that can be like I think in psychology it's called like a flashback. You literally have to live yourself into that moment, because if you can write it superficially and just put the words there, but the person that's going to read it will then also read it superficially. They're not going to feel that emotion that you wrote it with. But the same is for good things. When something really joyful happened, right? Then, and you want to write about that, then you get that joy when you write. So it's not all just doom and heaviness.
So it's rather the emotional involvement that can sometimes be overwhelming, rather than
I would say
intellectual.
And I'm not the type of writer either that writes Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 kind of a writer. I'm more I would write like it would just come at spurts, like, come out, and then I just go full on for however long it lasts, and then I stop again. And so I think it's because the kind of books that I write, it is books that are, when you write about a journey, it's not the kind of thing that you can write every day. I think you'll literally you will be so exhausted if you write about those kind of topics every day, because you would just be, you wouldn't be able, I don't think you can deal with that. I think a lot of people maybe maybe try and
Mm.
do that. And you find a lot of creative people. You could argue, are they depressed and have a lot of challenges, sometimes addictions?
Mm.
Do they have that because of who they are or because of what they do? You know, it's like when you talk about, we talked about this channeling of, as a creative person, you channel a lot of things, and some of the things you channel are very harsh and very hard to deal
Mm.
with. So it leads to a way that you want to escape from that. And
Yeah.
if you don't watch yourself and maybe pace yourself, it can become too much that you need something to help you to just escape from
Yeah. Yeah.
that thing that happened to you while you wrote or made music or whatever it is that you do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I can relate to that. Sometimes I have felt that, like, both creative channeling and also a bit that exhaustion that can come after when I'm recording videos for YouTube.
Yes.
Um, and there I usually go with the flow as well. I tried with like scheduling and, oh, now I'm going to do a deck walkthrough every Wednesday, and every time I look at that calendar I just think like, or feel like, oof, no, I don't want to do that deck walkthrough. And when I take away all that stuff and go from having a YouTube schedule to actually having just running a YouTube channel, it feels so much more at ease as a creative process, and letting, yeah, the universe speak to me. And sometimes, yeah, it can also feel a bit like overwhelming emotionally when I'm going into things that yeah, are not so much on the surface.
Mm.
um, but it's it's an amazing experience being in that creative flow. And I guess when we have that experience of it, we also learn to just take it easy and recover after those intense times. And
How do you do that? How do you deal with that when you've had something too so intense and you need to just
um, concerning YouTube, I would say I just let comments lie until I feel in the right mind space and in the right mood and emotional state in order to get back to people. I usually try to answer comments before I upload the next video, and that is much easier when I'm not scheduling, because then I know, okay, now I'm still a bit, yeah, overwhelmed after the last upload, so I'm not recording the next one now, but I wait until I've answered my comments, and then I will go on recording the next video. And just releasing myself from that pressure of having to respond in 24 hours, because I know a lot of people who are not able to respond that quickly either, because I believe everybody who's on social media can feel that pressure coming, and also the need to just live in the here and now. And every time when somebody on social media has been away for a while and then after a month they come back, I get that feeling, wow, it's great that they took that time off. And that
mm,
what helps me to accept that I'm not always able to attend to comments as quickly as I might envision myself being able to, and just accepting, well, no, it's not the right time to do that. And then I would just sit in my bed with a book and read those 2 pages that I'm able to read in the evening, or taking a shower or a hot bath. Recently I've taken a lot of hot baths and used the time in the bathtub to detach from mobile phones and screens. I don't take my mobile phone to the bathroom. So I'm just there with my candles and the bubbles and myself, and try to not use that time for anything else than just myself.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think baths are pretty amazing with that. It's like really good. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they always say as well, you get your best ideas in a shower. So as well, if you feel stuck or something, you just jump in the shower and have a good long shower if you can.
Yeah,
Whatever was wrong will sort itself out in your head.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a nice thing about Sweden, where both of us live. Like every gym and every swimming pool has a sauna. So people
Mm.
who are like sauna people and want to relax in that kind of heat will have
Yes.
access to that services almost everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are a writer, Lorica, and you are also a healer. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I call myself a healer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, um, I do healing on the physical, but I think it's mainly focused on the emotional and the mental side of healing, rather than physical, because I think a lot of times a lot of the things that we have start off with mental or emotional challenges, and
Yeah.
then they become physical. You know,
Mm.
like if you work too hard and you really stressed out, you can start to get headaches and tension in your shoulders and that. So a lot of those things are quite connected. Not everything, of course, you know,
Mm.
of course not everything, but there is a big connection between mental and emotional and physical.
Yeah.
So the healing I do is more with a holistic approach on all three of those things.
Yeah. How did you first get started on that journey, another journey to be a healer?
Um, I was living in Cape Town at the time. I was 29, I think. So it was in my late 20s. And I was I was going through a bit of a rough time because when I was in Joburg, I was a survivor of various crime
Mm.
incidents. I was in an armed robbery with a gun pointed to my head. I was in an attempted carjacking.
Mm.
I saw a man get killed in a really bad car accident. He was hit by a car.
Mm.
Um, I was caught up in a police shootout with a
Mm.
criminal and a policeman. So I had so many experiences like that.
Mm.
And it really affected me quite badly. You know, it
Yeah.
makes you really terrified, makes you anxious. You start getting depressed, you can't sleep, you know, panic attacks, all those kind of things. So when I was in Cape Town, I was walking past this really nice little cafe, like a coffee shop, and they had this notice board, and on the notice board there were signs of, you know, like people were selling things and advertising, and I'm always curious about everything. I'm a
Mm.
proper searcher for things. So I saw this piece of this pamphlet, and it had a Reiki at the top, and it said, if you want, there's this treatment that you can help you to relax. That was all it said. It wasn't healing or any, it was just a Japanese relaxation technique. And I
Mm.
thought, well, this sounds interesting. And it had those little things that you can tear off the number. So I tore off the number, I went home and I phoned. And so this lady, and I made an appointment to go and see her at her house in Woodstock, which is Woodstock, Cape Town, not the other Woodstock. And I arrived, and she was really friendly and very nice person. And she took me to her healing room, and I've never done anything like that before. It was just complete spur of the moment, just like I just felt I needed to do this. And I got on the couch, the table, like a massage table, fully closed, just your shoes removed. And she said, okay, all you got to do is just lie down and relax and close your eyes. And I'm going to give you, I will just place my hands on different parts of your body. And I'm just channeling energy, very gentle energy that will help you relax. So I said to her, I'm sorry, but I can't close my eyes in a strange room with a strange person. It's not possible. I can barely sleep at night. So I really can't do it. So she was like, fine, just try and keep your eyes relaxed if you want to have them open as much as you can. And if you do happen to close them, then it's fine. But if they're open the whole time, that's also fine. So okay, good. Which was the right approach for me. Because if she insisted on me closing, I probably would have left because I just wouldn't be able to deal with that. So she started the treatment, and she was still, the way Reiki works, I'm sure a lot of people probably know that watch this, but the treatments start with hands position, and it starts usually at the top of the head, and you have different positions all down the body. And she was still at my head when I just felt my eyes closing. And when I came back, she was by my feet. So I fell asleep. She was still at my head when I fell asleep. And for someone like me in that situation to have done that was just completely surprising and shocking and good, So I realized there's something here with Reiki. Yeah. And I went regularly for treatments with her. And then I moved to Chicago. And then I kind of didn't go for treatments because I didn't know anybody there. So, but that was my introduction to Reiki. It was just amazing. I couldn't believe that I literally fell asleep in the strange woman's house.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds incredible. If you have suffered from that kind of stress in your entire body, and suddenly you're just able to relax and let go at the hands of someone you don't know.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And you returned to Reiki later on in your life, didn't you?
Yes, it was probably 2 years after that, I'd say, maybe 2 years. I was still living in Chicago, and you get these little free newspaper kind of things that get delivered at your, in your mail. And I was just going through it. I had lots of time because I couldn't work while we were in Chicago because of visa. So I had a lot of free time. I did a lot of volunteer work, and that's when I wrote so much as well on my novel. But I was going through it, and I saw this Reiki teacher, and you can learn Reiki from this lady who's coming for a weekend, like a weekend course. And I thought to myself, wow. And by then internet was a little bit more, I was more into, you could start to find more stuff than in I grew up before all of that. So I kind of went onto internet. I can't even remember what search engine it was. Maybe the old Microsoft search engine. It might have been Alta Vista. I can't remember. It was before Google. And I found this woman on the internet, and I read up about her, and she seemed quite, reliable. So I decided to sign up and go for this course. And it was a weekend. I did Reiki 1 and 2, level 1 and 2 over one weekend. And yeah, I realized I can give Reiki to myself, so I don't have to go to somebody else to get the treatments or to find people. I can just do it myself. And so I just started treating myself, and then I started treating friends and family. And while I was in Chicago, I didn't do Reiki for money or any of that then. It was just practicing and seeing the experience and getting to know the energy and how it works.
Yeah. And you have kept on track with Reiki and kind of done a lot of courses and explored Reiki in many different directions, as I've understood from your website. Yeah. And how are you using your Reiki skills right now?
So it was a few years after I did that course. I did Reiki level 3, and then I did Reiki master teacher about a year or so after that. Um, and so, and that was when I was living in London. And I started to do more, like treating professionally, Reiki professionally, while I was living in London. Just, I was having a regular job, so I only did it on weekends. I rented a room that I would go to, you know, maybe once a month, and then treat people with Reiki. And so over the years I've kept that up, and everybody I meet, all my friends and family, I always would give everybody some healing. And healing can also be given at distance. It doesn't just have to be in the same room. So you can send healing to any person, anywhere, and you can give it to animals and to plants and to the world. It's energy works that way. So it's basically you just send love and healing to whoever you connect with. So then when a few years ago, when I first came to Sweden, I started to teach Reiki. That's when I felt finally ready. I can now, I have enough experience now, I can start to teach. So I do present Reiki 1 and 2 classes, but I only do that face to face. I don't do that on the internet, because with Reiki, I feel it works slightly different than many other modalities. So I don't do Reiki on the internet. You give treatments on the internet, but not teaching. So I also do other kind of healing. So I work, I discovered or started studying Buddhism as well when I was living in Cape Town in around 1999. And I would say if there's a spiritual path that I follow, that is probably the closest. If you want to define it, would be the Buddhist path, Tibetan Buddhism. So I've done a lot of those courses. And then because I studied psychology, I am very intrigued by psychology. So I have done a lot of volunteer work at suicide helpline and even at a London prison, in terms of listening when people feel in despair or suicidal, and they make calls to this helplines. So basically, I do many different things, but to me, it feels like they all just come to the same thing, and that is just to be a good human being and to be kind and compassionate and, do your best to help the world.
Yeah.
It's simple as that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And if you could explore anything on top of what you already have explored, is there anything that you would like to integrate into your practice or try out in order to find out if it's integratable?
Yeah, I just recently, literally last week was the last session. I did a course with a Buddhist nun called Pema Chodron. She lives in Nova Scotia, and she, because of the pandemic, she has this annual retreat, and usually you have to go there to do the retreat. But she presented it online this year because of the virus. So I probably would never have done it because it's quite pricey to fly and then to stay there for a few weeks and do a full-on retreat. So I wouldn't have done it. But because it was online, it was much more reasonably priced. So I did that, and it was all around emotion and dealing with your emotions and how you can not control them, because could say control, but it's not really control them. It's more accept them and learn how to work with your emotions, like anger and fear and hatred and all those kind of emotions. And it was the most intriguing course that I have done. So I've been thinking of ways to integrate that with what I'm doing, and becoming more of working with my emotions, because I think it feels like as if the longer we live in our society, the more we have this aggression and, I don't know, arrogance coming through everywhere you look, right? So I'm trying to figure out how I can deal with that and not get caught up in those same cycles, and remove myself from them. So I would say that's the thing I'm working on now.
Yeah.
Mostly.
And if you I'm getting like just I'm going kind of blank in terms of how to respond and what to ask. But I think it's just overwhelming to hear what you just said, and it feels like unnecessary to comment or any follow-up questions. It's like anything I would say would just destroy or like
no.
Take away.
You are a very wise person, Marijuana. I really love watching your channel because you always come up with these very interesting insights on things that I really appreciate that, especially when it comes to the tarot. It's really very, I really enjoy your channel. I was to say that. So yeah.
Thank you, Lorica. And I also want to mention that you do have a channel. You do have a YouTube channel, and you share readings and you share excerpts from your book, and you share travel experiences. If people scroll down just a bit, then you're still in different countries, not even in Sweden. Perhaps you don't even know that you will end up in Sweden.
Yes.
Like when we go back to your first videos on your channel. And what I really like about your channel is that it's always so you. It never feels like you're making up stuff for people just in order to attract views and likes or anything. Everything that I have seen on your channel so far is that Lorica, sorry, I always confused it, but Lorica, who's just where she is with her cup of tea and with deep reflections on how we live our lives and how we can keep up with a positive mindset in challenging times or in times in general. So that's something that is so soothing to listen to, and that you take your time to do the readings. It's not like fast food. It's just spending time with you, and at the same time spending time with oneself. So I will of course link your channel down below as well, so people can find you by just clicking. And
thank you. Thanks for that.
And you're also a tarot and oracle card reader. And one thing I'm curious about is what kind of philosophical underpinnings do you lean on when you're doing readings for other people?
I'd say for me the thing when it comes to doing the card readings is I approach it from a very intuitive kind of way. It feels to me like it's not so much what the specific card means, rather than what my eye catches first when I turn over the card, or what I feel, like a thought might pop into my head or a feeling, and then I see if that relates to an image that's on something that's on the card, even though it might be a card with a, you know, it might, the thing that catches my eye might be a tiny little thing on the card that looks completely insignificant, but for
Yeah.
that moment, for that um, person that you're reading for, that's the message, right?
Yeah.
The big picture doesn't matter, it's that tiny little thing that matters. So I would say it's very much very more of a intuitive kind of connection, rather than knowing the cards and knowing what they mean and what they are about.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that's more how I would do it. And I read what I bring to when I do card readings, and um, I also have a very much a positive outlook.
Yeah.
So when there's a something that isn't, maybe something a little bit more heavy coming through, not that I don't share when something, when
Yeah.
there's something that's not so good, but I try and put it in a way that there is always hope for something,
Yeah.
right? There's always something positive that can come. I don't like to share only doom and gloom, even if every card is a bad card. There's no bad cards, but you know what I mean. I always try and have something that's, okay, at least there's something you can hold on to that's not
Yeah.
completely devastating, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, definitely it does. There are people who go more by the card readings, card meanings, quite quite strictly, and people who are more spontaneous and pick up from the cards whatever comes through, as you do. And also there are different delivery styles. Some people are just like pang boom, and other people are more inclined to looking to the positive sides in any situation and turning those challenging aspects in a reading around
Yeah,
as an opportunity for development perhaps. And I guess that would align with a Buddhist mindset as well. It's not that we're
mm,
kind of digging down ourselves in self-pity and get stuck in situations, but that we detach from and let go of those aspects that are
yeah,
challenging in
yeah.
order to see what comes next.
Yes, yes. And you always have a choice. It's your choice
Mm.
in life. You can always choose something, you know, even if you have, that this is my opinion, right? It's not like, but even if there's things that are happen to you or around you, you could choose to change something about it, or even if you only change the way you look at it.
Yeah,
For example, if something happens to you that's really traumatic, and you know it really is hurtful, then you could look at it in a way that it's like, well, um, it's and you can feel the hurt, but you also learn that next time when somebody else goes through the same thing that you do, you have maybe a bit more compassion for that person that you might not have had in the past, right? So
yeah,
it's like, um, you can choose to approach things a little bit differently than
yeah.
just on the face of it.
Hmm. Yeah. So if you could like gather all the collective wisdom of Lorica into one quote to offer the world, is there anything that pops up in your mind? Like
Oh
it
my
could be
goodness.
as silly as you wish. So it's not necessarily like a serious quote of deep or anything. Just anything.
There is something that I always follow, always. It's like, I read this and from the Dalai Lama that he said, and it's a quote that I almost kind of live by, and it's called, "My religion is kindness."
Mm.
That's it. It's like
Yeah.
just as simple as that. It's all about being kind.
Yeah.
Not let people walk all over you, kind of, but just be
Mm.
kind.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I completely fail at that, like half of the time, right? But at least you recognize and you try. And if you fail, then you just look at yourself and you say, yeah, you could have done it maybe a little bit better there, but
Mm.
it's at least you recognize that you've made a mistake, and
Mm.
tomorrow you just try better and you try again, so
To
it's
write
not
a
like,
new note for the laundry. Oh, that one was too harsh. I will have to replace that angry note at the laundry in the
yes.
basement for a nicer one.
Yes, exactly. You took my spot at the laundry last night. I'm sorry, I'm going to leave you a
Clean the fluff.
scathing note, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Is it called fluff in English? Like those dammedottor? Like when you put your clothes in the tumble dryer, you need to clean that filter afterwards.
Oh my goodness. Yes, that
Clean
thing that
that.
you pull out and you have to
Yeah.
wipe that. Yes. And like they just like, people don't do that.
Oh, they don't.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's certainly worth like an angry note. Angry.
Yes. Oh, so funny. Yeah, Swedish laundry time is a fascinating thing. What an experience.
Yeah, and every time you move houses in those rental or like collective homes where you might own a flat, you have a different system. The old-fashioned system, it was still with those keys where you could place like things on a board and lock them out and lock them in. You have, yeah?
I have that.
You
Yes, I have it.
have,
Yes, I
okay.
have the keys on the board. And then it's like for 4 hours, you get like 4 hours
Yeah.
of laundry time on different days. And you have to put your key like on the 12th of August from 12, 1 to 11 to 4, whatever, or 10 to 3, or whatever the time is.
Yeah.
And then you book, that's in that key slot, right? And then when you get there, then you can take the keys out of the box, because the keys for the door to the laundry is locked away in a special box, right? And if somebody steals your laundry time, they took the keys. That's so funny. Yeah, yeah.
But on those old-fashioned boards, you can still see who the culprit is, can't you? That you can identify the flat number and you can hunt the people down.
Yes, but my laundry place, the block that I live in, people just take the key and not put
Oh.
so their box that the keys are in is separate from that thing. So you don't know who took the key, and they don't put their number in the,
Yeah.
So then you have to like, okay, there's 8 flats, and at the top of us, there's like student accommodation. So there's a lot of students living there. So you don't know who took it. So you just got to be patiently waiting until you can get another time.
Yeah. You might not want to be the neighbor, the old neighbor from down below who comes knocking at the door, like at the student's home. Do you have the key?
I know. I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
dear, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of different systems. I have lived in flats with those manual key things, and then in other accommodations, like flats that I rented, I had already a digital system.
Oh,
And that makes it quite um, inflexible for people to steal times, because you open and
yes.
close the door with that tag, and
Yeah.
it's not your time anymore. Time has like expired. You're not able to unlock your wet laundry anymore.
We should get those here, I think. Definitely. Oh, yeah. Uh,
Yeah. I
do
don't.
you have like in your house now your own
Yeah.
washing? Oh, yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had to get like a combination laundry machine and dryer because we have so much clothing from our family, so we don't hang our socks anymore. It's not so
Okay.
good to the environment, but well, it serves our energy in a place
Yeah.
where we don't have to put it. So yeah. Yeah. Let's get to some fun questions
Oh.
to round up.
Yes.
So if you could choose any um, what is it called? I have to look at my cheat sheet. Supernatural gift. That's what I call it. Um, what would you choose?
Oh my God. I think because I'm a traveler, I wouldn't mind having that. You know, Star Trek with Captain Kirk and Captain Picard, and when they stand there and they like go, beam me up, Scotty, or like want to beam up, or like, I want that. I want to be able to just like say, I want to say like Arizona. Okay, there I am. Like, or, you know,
Yeah,
Kilimanjaro, and there I appear.
yeah,
It's like, I would love to do that. I don't know if that's a superpower, but that's the power I want. I want to be able to just
yeah.
think it and I'm there.
It's
Physically,
definitely,
not in my mind, but physically.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a superpower.
Yeah.
So let's say we were allowed to travel, and I mean traveling by beaming is quite corona safe anyway, so you can wear your mask and you go alone basically, so no crowding and public transport and these things. So which place would you go first?
I have had I have never been to Asia. Like I don't know why, but I just have never been to Asia. And it's such a, you know, because Reiki comes from Japan and Buddhism comes from Asia, but I've never visited any of those countries.
Hmm.
So I think I would love to visit Japan. I
Hmm.
really, that would be like really a place that I really want to go to is Japan. Tokyo, and I think because not just because of Reiki, but also because of the how I imagine, and this could be completely wrong, but to me it feels like you have this modern, high-tech, fast-paced city, and then on the other side you have these really peaceful places with shrines and temples and forests, and that the combination of the two in one
Hmm.
country is, it must be so amazing. So
Yeah,
yeah, I would say Japan.
Japan. Cool. And next after Japan?
Ooh, I would want to go and visit my brother.
Yeah.
I really like, I haven't seen him in a long time, and he lives in the US. So
Hmm.
he's a bit private, so I'm not going to say where, but he really, I would really love to go and see my brother in the US.
Yeah.
It would be um,
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And which restaurant would you go eat and eat at?
I'm not much of a restaurant person. I don't really go out to eat, but I do like to go for a fika.
Oh,
So, coffee and a cake. So, I would go to, do you know Love Coffee? Like
yeah. Yes.
in Lund?
Yeah.
I would go there because I really like them. They just, I don't know, it's just something about like, you know, they have this really cool Instagram, and I've been there a few times, and it just always feels like really, you know,
Oh,
and yeah, I think that's it. Love Coffee, or there's another one, Coffee Break. Coffee
I love
Break is
coffee
another.
break as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we have the same favorite coffee shops in Lund.
Yes, really.
Oh,
We better go. I have to catch up.
and when it's getting warmer, and with the mask, perhaps it's even possible to meet in somewhere with some distance. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. It's like, until then, we just have our
Yeah,
Zoom
and
ficas, but
no
I
pressure,
still,
no
face to
pressure.
face would be amazing.
Yeah, no pressure at all. I didn't want to make it sound like that, but
I
that's good.
know.
Isn't it weird that we do have the same favorite places?
Yeah,
Because
isn't it?
really, coffee break.
And for anybody who doesn't know, Lund is full of coffee shops. I
Yeah,
mean, every corner there's a coffee shop in Lund.
yeah,
It's not like there's only three, it's a small place, or no, it is packed with coffee places.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's very interesting. We like the same ones.
But the good thing about coffee break is the breakfast. When I was
Oh, I
writing
haven't had that yet
my
there.
dissertation, I went there like regularly, like 3 or 4 times a week, just to get my breakfast, like a scone with the
Oh,
2 things to choose from, like cream
yes.
cheese and jam or something. And then you get the big cafe latte if you pay like 5 krona extra. So they upgrade from a usual black or coffee with milk to
Hmm.
one of the more luxurious variants.
Oh, wow. Nice. That's so nice. I haven't been to coffee break since I've come back from the UK
Yeah,
last year in May.
yeah,
So, and obviously before then, I haven't been because I was living in the UK for about a year. So, or I don't even know how long. I lose track of how long I live there. But yeah, I haven't been to coffee break in a long time. So, really would be
yeah,
amazing to go there.
yeah. When time is right.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm. And I would love to take a hike together as well when time is
Yes.
right, when we're able to do that and be safe doing it. There
Mm.
are those amazing places here uh, around where we live, so
Yeah.
we could, we could go tenting, camping. I mean, camping.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Wow, I think we have been on for more than an hour now.
Oh my goodness.
Time
Yes.
always flies. Um, should we start to wrap it up? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That would
yeah.
be fine.
Anything
Yeah.
else you would like to share with our audience? Anything that you would like to announce, or anything that you would like to add, or
Mm-hmm. I think maybe two things.
Mhm.
Um, the one thing would be that I have every Sunday evening Swedish time, 8 o'clock Swedish time. I have a guided chakra balancing meditation that I present on Zoom, and it's free. So anybody's welcome to join. Um, it's lasts for maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour.
Mhm.
So yeah, it would. If you want to join, feel free. There's no obligations.
Mhm.
And also the other thing is I have a course on Udemy that I publish, which is called Personal Development with the 5 Reiki Principles.
Mhm.
And you don't need to be a Reiki practitioner or even know about Reiki in order to do the course. It's just about 5 basic principles that, very common sense that we can live our lives by. And
Mhm.
um, you asked earlier if I can sum up my life philosophy or that kind of thing. And it actually, that might be even better is the Reiki principles because they're so
Yeah,
simple, so straightforward, but they mean so much once you start practicing them.
yeah.
Yeah, so you're also welcome to sign up if you're interested. Go and check it out if you
Mm.
want to join that course.
Yeah. And the course is on your website.
There's a link, there's a
Yeah.
link to the Udemy. So, but you will see it under the shop, on my website, on the shop. There will be a little photo image, and you click on it, and then it goes to Udemy.
Yeah. And in order to join your Zoom meditation?
That is also on my website. That is under the news section, where there's where it's called news. But so it's like my activities. Yeah.
That's great. I will put separate links to each of those different.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind.
Website. Yeah, of course. It's very nice, kind of you to come and chat. It's such a pleasure, and it's always fun to close a channel chat with a card draw.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Yeah, shall we do that?
Yes.
The fact that I have the closest, which has not been featured on the channel as much. It is the Mystic Fairy Tarot.
Oh, I love the fairies.
You do?
I love the fairies.
Yeah?
Yes. I've got 2 fairy decks.
Yeah. Which ones do you have?
The Doreen Virtue one, her fairy deck, and then Brian Frode, his fairy deck. His deck is that really, the fairies aren't these little winged creatures. They like more. I'll show you.
Yeah.
I'll show you.
Perhaps you could draw a card for us too.
If
you wanted to. I don't want to give directions. I'm just curious.
Oh, I have so many drawers here. Oh my goodness. Here it is. It looks like that at the back.
Yeah. Oh.
And then the cards have got like.
Yeah.
It's quite beautiful. So it's called the Fairies Oracle.
Yeah.
By Brian Frode.
I wonder if I've seen it on Bronia K's channel.
Yeah, you might have seen it because it's been around for quite a long time as well, and the book is like a proper book, like a full-on.
Yeah.
It describes each card and the whole how they, what the fairies mean in detail. Like really, it's a pretty cool deck. Yeah. I don't read with it much. I just love the pictures.
Okay, if you're up for it, we can do that pick a card game where I'm placing 2 piles on the table and ask you which, like, you will have to choose between 2 options. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah? Okay, mornings or evenings?
Oh. Evenings.
Crows or seagulls?
Oh, you get that? Oh, choose. Oh my God, crows. Oh my gosh, you have a beautiful light. Somehow there's this light shining, like, no, it's like you're sitting in the universe, like inside, like some beautiful light coming from the universe. Like you will see maybe when you watch it again. Oh, it's so beautiful. Wow, it's stunning. Okay, sorry. Really? Wow.
Okay, then we take that as a prompt for heaven or earth?
Earth.
desert or forest?
Oh my God, you're asking me the really hard ones. Desert, desert.
Queen of Pentacles.
Oh, wow.
Here we've got the court card that speaks to the material realm and building a network of actually cooperation in those really earthly matters, as I see that queen.
Oh, wow. I like that.
And
Wow.
it speaks about how we are able to connect here, um, actually quite close to each other. Like I see the pentacles almost like an indication of being geographically close. So it's not the swords that are just in the air, but being part of that network and interacting with each other in that established but still informal way, um, while we're sharing the same ground, the physical
Yes,
ground.
yes, yes. Oh, wow. I love that. Thank you so much.
And here are blackberries. There are a lot of blackberries in Skåne where we live. There are a lot of
Yes.
blackberries in Lund on Knivsåsen to pick and also.
I often in the spring I go, or summer, I don't know, summer, we would, when we go on our walks, I would just pick the blackberries in there by Dalby and out that way as well. There's so many.
Yeah, there are so many really.
Mm.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Norika.
Well, I just want to say thank you as well, Manuela, for spending the time with me, and it was really, really good to talk to you. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for not asking too many difficult questions. Uh, so
Oh,
yeah, and I really love your channel, like I said before. So I'm
oh,
very lucky to have met you.
thank you so much, and I'm sure we will be meeting again very, very soon, both online and when Corona has blown over, then we will have
Yes,
the
yes,
opportunity to meet up.
good. Okay, thank you.
Have a nice
Blessings to
evening.
you.
Goodbye.
Bye.